I'll never forget that we went in our jerseys to one of my parents' friends' house on the weekend. And you know, when you go in jersey, like back then we didn't have, like, I didn't know edge control. Like we were 10 years old. Check it out. You know, like, thank God for glow.
Your baby hairs weren't laid?
First, my baby hairs were never laid. I still have not figured that out.
I took it a bunch just to slick it down.
I'm trying to lay them down and then like, these are African 100%.
Can't start this episode without toasting to another amazing season on The Shop, making incredible moments and having amazing conversations. So cheers, brother. We gotta give JR a big round of applause. And I wanna know about this. He was North Carolina A&T academic.
I saw that.
Athlete, Aggie Athlete of the Year.
Hey.
But wait, I got one big. How? Were you in high school? Were you a bad student or?
Yeah.
So how did you? What's going on? Is there something?
Right?
I'm happy for you, but I've been wanting to know. I'm like, I gotta see Swish to know what's going on.
Man, so honestly, when I stopped hooping, bro, and like, I was depressed. I couldn't get out of it.
Really?
I didn't want to do nothing else but hoop. And like feeling like, for me, for a long time, I felt like, and still now, I feel like I can still hoop, but not being able to like do it on the level that I was expected, or I expect myself to do it on. Not being able to do it at that level, it like put me in a depression, because from high school, I got drafted when I was 17.
Of course.
I'm 35. Like, this is all I know.
Half your life.
This is my life.
More than
More than that.
even before high
You know
school,
what
too.
I'm
Like,
saying? Yeah, even before high school, this is every day. This is
Where you from?
a lifestyle, Jersey.
Did you grow up golfing?
No, I started playing golf when I was 24. But for me, like, in school, like, I grew up ADD, ADHD, like, I'm not.
Did you get diagnosed with that as a kid?
Yeah, as a kid.
Oh, wow.
So for me, like, it was always something I was already shy of, because, you know, kids is cruel. They pick on you, mess with you, this and that.
Reading in class, fucking with you.
Yeah, fucking with you. Then but make it so bad. On top of that, I was one of 6 black kids in the whole school.
Oh, wow.
People didn't realize that. People look at me like, oh, he from the hood, da-da-da-da. Like, no, bro, I'm from the farm that, like, the boys, like, the burbs.
You grew up in the
then,
burbs as a kid.
As a kid, all my family is from the hood. So for me, every day, like, I got 12 aunts and uncles on each side. Everybody got 5, 6 kids. Yeah, so
24?
Yeah, so it's like
a lot of first cousins.
No, I got like
That's a lot. I got
a lot of first
I got a
cousins.
lot. And my dad got 6, and my mom had 2 siblings. I got like 25 first cousins. Too many.
Yeah,
It's actually too many. When
It is, because
when you're black and make money, it's too many.
You cannot love that many people. You said you cannot love that many people.
It's too many.
But Swish, you mentioned, you know, being depressed once you stopped playing. And I know I've heard you say before you felt there was a period, I don't know if you still feel like this, that you were blackballed in the NBA. Did that add to it, that it wasn't on your terms when you stopped playing?
Yeah, for sure, because like, for me, it was like, I'm healthy, I'm capable, and I see the product that's being put out there, and I play against these people every day in workouts and pickup, and everybody knows, like, it's not even.
Why do you think you got blackballed?
For me, it's like, I think it's just, I'm not gonna say I completely got blackballed, but because I added a lot of shit to my thing, so I want to take accountability for it more than anything. Because I definitely fueled a lot of the things, then got to a point to where people probably just got tired of it. You know, what he's worth and what his talent.
There's a classic
you know
line that one of my mentors taught me, Jimmy Iovine, which is, when the shit gets bigger than the cat, get rid of the cat.
Oh.
When the shit gets bigger than the cat, get rid of the cat.
100%.
That's what you're basically saying. It's like, you feel like when you were JR, 23-year-old JR, you had some shit, but your talent.
Yeah, my
And then you
talent was
feel
way bigger than
the shit.
Yeah, the shit.
Yeah.
The shit that they were, the shit that I was doing, it was just like, I don't care. He about to go get 30. He gonna go, and he's coming off the bench. Like, and we already paying him low, so like, let's just keep this going. And then and once it got to a point where like my name and my what I was saying started holding the weight to certain people's ears and started like really rattling feathers, it was like, okay, nah, we going.
Do you regret a bunch of the shit that you did? Do you look back on it and go like, damn, I was young, I was crazy,
I do, but I don't, because all of it, it's created who I am today and made me so much of a better person to be able to appreciate what I have now and anything that comes my way, because I lived such a fictitious lifestyle for so long. And I didn't realize it. Like, being a professional athlete at 17 and getting thrown money, and all of a sudden you handsome and you driving this and you go here and you go like, bro, like you are awarded a certain lifestyle other people just aren't. And I had this conversation with my boys all the time, and it's like, okay, you riding dirty. Like, okay, there's a difference between you riding dirty and me riding dirty. So when I get pulled over, they're gonna be like, oh, JR, man, come on. You get caught riding dirty, bro, I'm never gonna see you again.
I was watching Eddie House this morning. Eddie House actually made a good point. He was like, listen, ain't nobody in the NBA a gangster, because if you were a real gangster, you don't make it to the NBA.
No.
Because they check your background, they know your family. So we can all pretend this thing, but you're not gonna make it to the NBA if you got like a body on your record or something. Like
Right.
But so there's a lot of that, it seems, of guys that wanna portray that image, right?
No, for sure. It's a lot of dudes who want to portray that image, but my thing was, I'm not from the hood, and I tell people from the get-go, I'm not from the hood, but you're not going to try me and disrespect me. Now, that's different. When you try me and disrespect me or something like that, now I'm got to get with you. But all of that, riff-raff, I'm cool on that.
Yeah. Do you think it's the people that you were around, or people be around, or do you think it was just you?
That's a good question.
I think for me, it's really bad for a 17-year-old to go into an organization with really bad morals and who really don't like younger players. And just who aren't into grooming them. Like, if you're 17, you go to a bad team, I won 18 games my rookie year. You're not really learning how to be a professional.
Yeah.
You're not really learning what matters. You're really like, you learning from, most of the time, older vets, bitter dudes who made their bread, who in the streets. Like, you're not really learning how to be a respectable man opposed to just another athlete. And that's where I relate it to like a person like Ja. At the end of the day, bro, you're gonna stop playing ball.
Yeah.
We all it happens. I thought of it too. I was 18, 19. You crazy as hell. Oh, hey, I'm gonna be windmilling forever, bro. You gonna stop playing. The ball stops. It's inevitable. Father time is inevitable. And at the end of the day, what's more important than how much money you made, how many championships you won, to me, if somebody can sit there and say you are a respectable man, then that's all I need to hear.
How does that work for you, Chloe? Because you obviously started very young.
I did.
Who has taught you, obviously very professional, who taught you etiquette, how to dress, how to be
a pro?
What he's describing? What's been your process for that?
Wow. So it's crazy, like going down memory lane and everything, especially like going back home to Atlanta last year. Ever since I was like 4 or 5, I was in the business, and it was really all that I knew. And then I look back and I ask myself, and I'm like, do I feel like I really had a childhood? Ooh. And I feel like that the reason why I'm still like so bubbly and like, hee, because that child inside of me never really had a true outlet. So from jump, since I was a little girl, I was working. And the blessing in that is that my work was something that I actually did enjoy to do. And it was like, okay, the love of it outweighs the stresses. And even now, we all go through shit and we all have problems, but it's like when your love of something outweighs that, you'll do anything to keep it going. So that's truly been my heartbeat through it all. And I was lucky that God blessed me with a sister that I got to go through it with. And it's funny because we were like 7 and 5 in our church dresses at the clubs in Atlanta singing. Wow. I remember being outside the W Hotel going up to Polo de Don like, hi, can we sing for you?
Really?
Yes, and it's so crazy to see how I've been working for so long and there's still so much more that I want to do and a lot more that I want to accomplish. So it's crazy that I have been working for technically all my life.
Well, who got you to work in your parents, right? And were there
Yes.
days as kids when you guys didn't want to and they pushed you to do it?
Of course, but what I will say about them is that I have to give credit to them for my work ethic. One thing I can openly say with confidence is that out of all my peers, I feel like I work the hardest, but I was explaining it to you earlier, I was realizing I was using it almost as my vice. Work as a distraction, because we all kind of go through things, and even though we're working and front facing we seem okay, like you were talking about, there's things internally that we have to work on. So I was using music, yes, as therapy, but also like constantly wanting to fill my schedule, constantly wanting to work as like the escape from the holes inside that was making me doubt my self-worth and lacking confidence. And I feel like, especially all of us, I feel like we can say, people look at us and they think we're confident, they think we have it all, they think because we have money in the bank that we're truly happy, but that's bullshit, So now what I'm really proud to say, I was like talking to God and I was like, okay, this year I'm gonna find the healthy balance between working and having fun.
Yeah. Chloe, has there ever been a time like, we talk about siblings. I know you have a sibling playing, you have a sibling, obviously sibling, that your sister was working or maybe got a big opportunity and you did it and you were maybe doubtful?
Yeah, so ever since we were young, we were always together. Like even when we got homeschooled, I only got to 7th grade first semester until we were homeschooled, and we were all that we had in the house. And the very first time we really did anything separate was when sis got Ariel and Little Mermaid. And she went out to London and I was in Los Angeles, and it was like right around pandemic time. So it made traveling really hard and difficult. So it was like, I remember when she went back out there, like we cried by the car for like a good 30 minutes. I know the driver was getting annoyed with us, but we both kind of went through this journey of feeling like we had separation anxiety.
Separation, yeah.
Sure.
But I never have any regrets, even though in the moment it feels like shit's feeling too heavy and too hard. That was what sparked me, because I had all this free time. I was just shooting this season. I was like, okay, well, maybe this is the time for me to kind of rely on my inner voice and start working on my own project. Because I was just going home, I was acting, going home and going to sleep. And I was still creating and making beats in my bedroom, but a part of me felt unfulfilled because the thing that I would do with my sister that would fill that void, she was gone. So through that scary path and fear, it was like a shove from the universe out my comfort zone to kind of do something that I think has always been my purpose.
And that's when you wrote In Pieces?
Yes.
Now, obviously, we've seen a lot over time of siblings or groups have success like you and your sister did, and then one person decides to go solo. And a lot of them have worked. Timberlake, Beyonce, Michael, of course, and a lot have not.
Most don't work. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think about that? Have you studied that? Were you nervous about that?
I didn't study that. Nerves, it was surrounding something else. I was like, do people want to hear my voice on my own? There was because I was the nerd behind the computer, engineering and producing and doing all this stuff for Sis and I. So, performing was really the place where I felt like my confidence shined. But other than that, I was like, I felt like I was building Frankenstein with my computer, because that was my comfort zone. So where the pressure and the nerves came from was like, would people still be interested if it's just me? And it was like, what do I want to say? I don't want people to listen to my music and say, oh, that's Chloe without Halle.
Was that what a lot of the album is about?
Yes, so the record's called In Pieces because, originally I wanted it to be called Heart on My Sleeve. And that was one of the earlier demos that I created, and it's still on the record now. And why I called it In Pieces is what everyone sees on the front face, they see like you have it all together, but they don't know like deep inside you're left in pieces. So that's really what the project stemmed from. And it was like me feeling heartbroken from the world, but I can't blame the world. That's me not setting the proper boundaries in place. So that's the first meaning of In Pieces, and then it's also a double entendre. And I didn't really realize until...
Get your Jay-Z on.
until me and my creative team were figuring out how to properly represent the meaning of this body of work visually. And so we were all on the call, and my godmom says, I see you in like this glass box. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And so the second meaning of In Pieces, it means breaking out of any wall, any box that someone has put you in. That idea that someone thinks of who Chloe Bailey is, or whoever's listening to the album, it doesn't exist.
Got it.
And speaking of which, I feel like that transition for you, it was so beautiful, but it could have been challenging too.
Yeah.
How do you, make sense of what happened when you stepped into your own truth, and maybe people were still internalizing, oh, you and your sister, and like maybe the young girls, not like the grown women.
And did you ever doubt, is this the right thing during the process?
Oh, absolutely. Still doubting when I woke up this morning. I don't think that'll ever go away. And it's like almost a sense of imposter syndrome. But I think because I was finding who am I on my own, who is Chloe as an individual, it was scary. And I was like, I want to please everybody. I want everyone to like me. That's how I am in life. I hate confrontation. I don't really speak up for myself. Halle would be the one speaking up for me growing up. Like, I'd be like, oh, okay, everything's fine. But I had to realize, like, I have to learn not to give two shits about what people think. Because at the end of the day, when I'm left looking in the mirror at myself, am I happy? And I am. And it got to a point where I had to like remove social media off my phone because things people were saying, whether they were close or not, was starting to affect me. And, as strong as we can try to sound like, oh yeah, that doesn't bother me, it doesn't matter, it does. It starts to weigh you down, it starts to affect you. And I began to do everything that people were accusing me of, being something other than myself.
Wise beyond her years.
Thank you.
Super. It's insane.
It's crazy how all of these beautiful projects that I have been working on for years are now coming to light now, like with Swarm with Donald Glover, then my album's coming out, then Praises is coming out, and then
You about to have a run, yo.
and then
You about to have a run.
yeah, and then 5 days after that, I start my headlining tour. So within these 3 years, I was like beating on myself, like, when is this gonna happen for me? When is this gonna happen?
Wait, that's the window for you? Put all this in 3 years?
Yes, so when I auditioned for Praise This, when I sent my self-tape,
How did you know that role was for you, though, too?
She loves music, she loves God, and I was like, oh, that's me. So I sent my self-tape in, and that was 2.5 years ago, right when the pandemic started.
So I met them. They came in. Blew
How long
out.
ago was this? Like how? Ballpark.
5 years ago?
Yeah, like
6 years ago?
at least.
Maybe, yeah, at least 6, yeah. Yara introduced me to them, and they came in, and I was like, are you guys twins? And I was like, you're twins on this. Because they were
He's like, you're twins? No, you're twins.
They were completing each other's sentences. Everybody on Grownish was sent from God. I met Lucas Sabat in the elevator. This motherfucker had on high-waisted silk pants. And I was like, yo, you're pulling those off. And I was like, and I saw how the girls were around him. Then I was writing in Chateau Marmont. And I come downstairs, and he's down there smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, this was meant, we saw each other at Soho House. We started talking, he's Haitian. And I was like, yo, that's why we named the character Luca. It's him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you just told him be you.
I saw him be him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, do you want to come do this? And the same thing, like, Yara introduced me to them. I was fans. They produce. The theme song, which changed Grownish, we had one that we really, really wanted, and Jake John, where he's at, like, you know what I'm saying? We just couldn't get it done, but like, they went and overnight created something that like changed the show on their own.
Wow.
Kids, you know what I'm saying? In their room, like really, and I'm like, they were like, we have more, we can give you more. But I gotta ask you, so how was that when you decided to just say like, you know what, this is who I am, I'm gonna be comfortable who I am, and like, as an artist, I'm gonna introduce myself to the world. How was that perceived? And what made you make that choice?
To be honest, it wasn't really a choice I made. And when people ask me that, I'm like, oh, because most of those posts I was posting was from my Finsta like 2 years prior. Like there was a dance video I edited like a year ago that I posted on there. It was all these things that, my close family and friends saw. I was just being myself. So when Halle and I made our own socials and it was like this huge uproar, no matter how, like whatever thing I posted, it went viral, I was quite confused, if I'm being honest. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's nice, because, what people don't realize, whether it's good or bad discussion, they're paying your bills. So I was like, in the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna get my music out there. I'm just gonna be positive. That's when I started making production videos, because I was tired of people looking at me as just this girl with a body and curves. I was like, I'm actually quite smart, and I want people to see me for that. So then that's like, if you go back through the timeline, that's when I started showing like, yeah, I produce, I write all my stuff, I engineer, and that's what I love about being a woman is that we have so many layers to ourselves. Yes, we can be sexy and, you know, sexual and sensual and all of that in between, but at the same time, you can't fuck with my mind because I pay attention. So that's what I love about being a woman.
That's very...
I need my girls to listen to that for sure.
What's that?
I said I need my girls to listen to that for sure.
Exactly, yes.
I'm trying to tell you.
Sinead, what about you with your sister? What's your working relationship?
I resonate with like 1,000% everything that you've said, just because I joke like Nneka's my lifestylist, meaning she styles my life. And it really started at a young age. It's not just 2 of us, there's 4 of us, 4 girls. And when I always tell people we fell into basketball and fell in love with it. You know, we didn't think that that was something that would transform our lives. Literally, you know, when you talk about embracing who you are, growing up in Houston, Texas, in the burbs, the only predominant like black woman, black young girl in my classes. I went to Catholic school, then I went to public school. And I'm glad for both, because that's a nice mix to get you ready for the real world. But I'll never forget, you know, growing up, just having that idea that, you know, what I was at that time. You know, I was a girl. It's funny, like, I used to be triggered sitting in a chair like this because all the kids would be able to swing their feet, you know, in school. I used to put, like, books so I could swing my feet, just, like, under me, just so I could be like the rest of the, you know, kids in class. And I was the only, you know, taller than the rest, blacker than the rest, smarter than the rest, though, and outgoing. But oftentimes, if you don't fit the mold, and that's how it felt like growing up, you know, in the 2000s, then you are looked to as less than or different. But different is actually your superpower, because those things that made me different are the reason why I'm in the league. You know what I'm saying? They're the reason why I have a voice as a broadcaster. I just wish I knew that earlier so I could step into my confidence earlier.
Did you always know you wanted to be a broadcaster?
Absolutely not. No.
You just stumbled into it.
Yeah, so
You're
by
really
nature,
good.
Thank you. I love to break down the game. I think it's just natural for me because all of these things with basketball is a bonus. Like growing up in a Nigerian household, you know, you're supposed to be doctor, lawyer, engineer, right? But instead, we had parents that were progressive. They saw value in sports. They said, hey, our girls are out here like learning teamwork, camaraderie, work ethic, all those things by playing basketball because someone told them that's what tall girls do. And so we got a lot of benefits, but there was a lot of pushback culturally amongst Nigerians at that time.
And you felt that, even at that age, you felt that pushback?
I'll never forget that we went in our jerseys to one of my parents' friends' house on the weekend. And you know, when you're going jersey, like back then we didn't have, like, I didn't know edge control. Like we were 10 years old. Check it out. You know, like, thank God for glow
Your baby hairs weren't laid?
First, my baby hairs are never laid. I still have not figured that out.
I have to go a bunch just to flick it down.
I tried to lay them down and then like, these are African 100%. So I'm like, I've just given up. But yeah, you know, we come to our parents' friend's house. I probably was like 10, Nneka was 11 or 12. Wearing jerseys, sneakers, that's not the norm for what is traditionally expected from 10-year-old girls back then. And we say back then, it was quite recent. And I'll never forget, some of my parents' friends would look and they were like, sort of like, why are they wearing this? Like, do they smell? Why aren't they in the kitchen? Why aren't they helping out in the traditional expected ways? But my parents, like, I love the fact that they did not care what they said. We're getting all A's. They needed to put 4 girls into something that would make them tired so that they go to sleep at the end of the night. And all of a sudden, that transformed our lives. And so when I was in school, never being the girl asked to, you know, the dance, you know, because I didn't fit the mold of the Texas little girl, right? But, you know, eventually we started achieving at a high level through hoops. And so, yeah, it's been like a shift. I know what it's like to feel like you go from 0 to 100 because on air, you know, I started really getting my opportunities through Sports Center in like 2018. But Sports Center, you're like sitting at a desk like this, right? And then we have the pandemic where we're doing everything in a box. And so all of a sudden I stand up and I'm walking and I'm wearing the clothes that I want to wear so I can represent who I feel I am. And everyone's like, hold up, she got body? Like,
so can I ask you something? In such a male-dominated field, how did you get the respect you deserve?
And do you feel respected?
I absolutely feel respected as a broadcaster. And I think that's because I have realized that people see you and judge you before they hear you and know you. And knowing that as a Black woman speaking on the NBA game that I will never play because I'm a WNBA player, I was like, all right, if they already are coming to me and like saying, why are you talking on the NBA? Well, let me give you what you need to know. And so I usually go with facts, with figures. I'm the one that actually watches the whole games. You know, a lot of times Hall of Famers can sit down and just give you their opinions because they have earned that seat based off of their resume. But me, I have to earn my stripes. And so years of just, putting out there the information, the breakdown, watching the game, people are like, she knows her stuff more than the guys.
Yeah, of course.
By nature of the expectation of perfection for women that put themselves out there.
How far do you want to go with it? Do you want to go like, is it just stay in sports? Do you want to be the next Robin Roberts? Do you want to be?
I would love all of that, but you know what's funny? As I've grown older, at first, I think we get caught on I want to be an all-star, I want to be an MVP, I want to be a champion. But as I've gotten to this point where I start to feel every day the impact of what I do, I'll walk down the street and Chene, you give Stephen A. Hale, keep doing that. You know what I mean? And Chene, I'm coming to the Sparks because I saw you on TV and I'm gonna watch you play. Those types of things have shifted the goalposts for my goals. And I feel like sometimes those labels that we get as athletes, because they're literally bonuses in our contract.
For sure.
They limit our mindset. And so my number one thing, everything that I do is about impact.
And are you taking that balance, because you do a lot, of oh shit, maybe I thought I was gonna play X number of years. Maybe I'll play less to focus on broadcasting. Now, are you recalibrating how long you wanna play in the WNBA?
I will tell you this, I don't know how long I wanna play, but the moment I win a championship with my sister, I'm gone.
You out.
I'm gone.
And you wanna focus on other things.
Well, I don't know, it's weird. This is the part that stinks, because I work all year to be ready for the WNBA season. And then the WNBA season happens and it's great. But then once it's over, I'm into another season. Similar to other women's basketball players who play year-round, but my job is now on TV. And it's tough because I give my all to everything that I do, but because of the season overlap, sometimes I have to miss work in the playoffs so that I can be there in training camp. So it's you never feel like you're getting everything that you need. But one thing I've realized is basketball is the thing that grounds me. And so when I think about my sister and I, we won in high school, we won in AAU. And the only thing left for me is winning a championship with her.
Well, there's one more thing. I read somewhere you guys are trying to play for the Nigerian national team.
That's true.
And also Nigeria has a new president.
Yes.
You guys, and how much do you pay attention to what's going on in Nigeria? And obviously there's been an economic crisis, and are you guys feeling this is the president that can turn things around?
Yeah, narrative with Nigeria is always so unique to me because people tend to talk about Africa as a whole, the continent, through crisis, through, if it bleeds, it leads, those types of things. But at one point, Nigeria had, I believe, the 4th fastest growing economy in the world. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, and 70% of its population is under 30 years old.
Crazy.
Why is that?
Healthcare probably got,
health.
healthcare is
Right.
Yeah, and just but also you think about health and through the crisis lens, you also have some of the greatest longevity for those who live older because they're eating all natural, right? But there are crises too that people hear about. I'm Nigerian, I'm Igbo, so Biafra is definitely embedded. Biafra was a movement in which the Igbos sort of tried to exert their independence, but it didn't work out well. So my dad grew up in Nigeria in the Southeast and was his father and himself and his whole generation are survivors of a war as well. And being born in Houston, Texas, I'm dealing with a lot of the intricacies of the diaspora.
Of course.
But with the elections, it's been heartbreaking because when we talk about that huge youth population, they really created some powerful movements, the same way the youth here did with Black Lives Matter and all the work that everyone did. There was an End SARS movement that really tried to liberate Nigerians as a whole through the youth. And so even though this election, let me just say, I am very optimistic about the activism that we're seeing globally from Black people.
Geopolitics is one of my favorite topics, but I have lots of friends Europeans from France or England, and we talk about things, going on around the world, and it's always they'll talk about a bit where you talk about the wars in Africa or the way South America figured out.
Talk about the Afrobeat
And then my point is
explosion.
always yeah, but you fucking Europeans, you went around slaughtering people for hundreds of years.
Thousands.
And now you want to point fingers and go, oh, there's a warlord in pick a country in Africa or South America that's doing.
Suffering from the colonialism created.
But I always tell people it's very simple. Middle East and Africa, we lived in tribes, not states. Europeans came in and made states, and then went back to London and Paris and made decisions on how we lived in Africa
Yep.
from 2,000 miles away, like screwed the whole thing up. So it's very, it's like, and people don't realize we're still reaping those issues today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what I love is a lot of times when you think about this international like diaspora, where my parents' generation, they felt like to get opportunity, they had to leave Nigeria. Well, it's cool. I feel like the shift is happening now where actually it's two things. One, we're actually like still holding down our academics so that we make our parents happy, but we're also doing great
Wait,
things.
so you're the one helping switch?
Yeah.
You're the one.
Right now. That's how I
We
made
keep
it.
them happy, to say like, hey, we have our degrees, but we're also stepping into different arenas. It's not just myself as an Ogwumike, it's an Antetokounmpo, it's an Embiid, it's a Siakam, it's an Olajuwon, like they're generations. And then you've got Yvonne Orji, you've got Burna Boy, you've got WizKid. There's so many different people in different areas. So I say this to say that like it's changing because the diaspora is more connected than it's ever been before.
So we've been talking people, we've been talking race, culture, people. I want to talk you people for a second. Some backlash, I think. I don't know if you felt backlash. I want to talk
only
about
get
that.
backlash.
Why do you think that is?
I get a lot of it. And I think a lot of it is because they want, I think they, meaning mainstream America, you know what I'm saying? White
You
America,
people.
You know what I'm saying? They feel like we're monolithic. You know what I'm saying? One of the things like, it's hard for me to say, I think there's so many different versions of us. You know what I'm saying? And when we have to say there's not enough of us telling stories, so when we got to have one person telling a story that's supposed to represent all of us, there's not enough of us. And so we're supposed to speak to everybody. And I'm saying like one story, if we get success, they want that to be everybody's story. I felt it with you people in a crazy way. You know what I'm saying? I felt it it's on its way, it's broken a lot of records. You know what I'm saying? We were number one in 95 countries.
How hard was it to get that sold? Like the concept?
I'm gonna tell a story. Super, don't get mad at me. I'm gonna show you something. So we did that. We went to Netflix with that movie. Loved the script. Came out. They were like, I don't get it. They were like, this is a walk and talk. That's and in TV terms, that's kind of like in movie terms, that's kind of a diss. They called it a walk and talk. They offered us a certain amount of money. That was like, we can't make this. They were like, you can have it back. We took it out. Immediately, the way you do reads, you do a weekend read. People have to read it, and we got 5 of the biggest offers from all the major studios. It came back, Stuber and Ted being the executives they were like, come back to us. And they gave us a lot more money to do it there, and I couldn't have done it anywhere else. But it was, the idea of it was not seen because it wasn't what they're used to seeing us as. It's never gonna be that until you do it. People didn't see it until they saw it. You know what I'm saying? And then once they see it, they're like, oh yeah, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Kenya, where's that confidence come from? Like, because it's easy to be like, well, maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe this isn't it. Like, where's that confidence of being like, no, I know this is it?
I never know that it's it, because I think that's what kills you. I was lucky, I created Top Model. You know what I'm saying? It gave me the power of no, and not having to do something because you got a little bit of cheese where you don't have to just take what they give you, changes everything.
You're making a movie about the Crips, right? Or you're gonna make that movie. And this idea, like that whole topic, because I've been watching, my favorite movie of all time, my favorite 2 movies are Godfather and Godfather 2. The Italian mob on TV, since I was a kid, when my dad would babysit me, when I was 7, that's how he put me in front of the Godfather. He'd be like, my dad was a street guy, sold drugs.
Crazy
Went to
story.
federal penitentiary. And that's what he knew how to teach me. So he was like, oh, this is the sophisticated version of what I do.
Sophisticated.
The sophisticated. So he was like, son, watch this. But the black street life has always been treated differently on film. Are you gonna do that different through this? Like, how do you think about that? Why is that?
So I went to go see The Irishman. I walked out of it and I was like, this is the end of the Italian gangster movie. You know what I'm saying? They've had a long run.
Hell
of a run.
But like when
From
you
the 70s.
when
Hell of
you
a
think
run.
about what being a gangster is now, you think about black and brown. You know what I'm saying? You think about why. I was like, why are we not why are we letting other people sort of like do the thing? I was like, I don't want to like glorify it, but I feel like those are the best businessmen in the neighborhood.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? My dad's so dope. But I feel like the thing that I feel like that I've learned from y'all, that I learned from Jay, that I learned from, is don't just take and claim because it's black, we should get the thing. We gotta do it at the high level.
Level, for sure.
We gotta make sure it looks good, it sounds good, it's cast well. And I feel like that's the thing when I got to 2U People. There's never been, and I had to like research this, there's never been we did $100 million, there's never been a mainstream comedy directed by a black man, which is crazy. Because they take, I mean, I love
There's been a lot of successful ones, right?
There's successful
like Girls Trip.
I did Girls Trip, I did Tim,
did Girls Trip,
Malcolm.
Girls.
But those are still considered black movies,
Yeah, of
you know what I'm
course.
saying? But like, there's never been, they eat our comedy up. They eat up Kevin, they eat up Eddie. They
Eddie
eat up
was
Dave,
the original, yeah.
They eat up, but they've never, there's not one time been a mainstream comedy directed by us, even though they love our fucking, who we are as you know, as in our comedic sort of tribe, you know, to the America. And I'm like, why can't you take us and let us tell our stories our way? We don't get a chance, like Larry David, right? We don't get a chance to do satire.
No.
We don't get a chance to do
Great
things
point.
that feel like they want to put us in a box, right? And I feel like looking at this group, you know what I'm saying? Just looking at just any group, and I say, I look at Mav, I look at Rich, I look at Jay. When we break out of the box, we break all the way out.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? Jared going and playing golf, I messed with him, I was like, you want to live? Like the idea, like Schoolboy, you know what I'm saying, is now saying how golf changed his life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Dan Fogelman, who's one of my, you know, best friends, did This Is Us. We have a movie we're doing about, there's gonna be a version, there's gonna be a moment where there's an Allen Iverson in golf.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? Where
Is it you, bro?
You know what I'm saying? No,
By the way, JR, by the way,
Give me 3 years, baby. We working.
no, we talked about, no, you were one of the people
we did
talked
a
about.
doc with him, by the way, called Redefined, which
Yeah.
everybody should see. Follows his career. What, like, is that do you feel that sometimes, like, shit, I'm breaking all the way out of the box doing this? And how far do you want to go with golf? Will you play after college?
You know what? I'm listening to it. It kind of gave me goosebumps because, like, I had that feeling, like, when I got into the game of golf and, like, doing the certain things. And when I first started school, I started growing my hair, and I had locks. And then I cut my locks literally probably 3 months ago. And deals just start flooding through, like,
Really?
oh, man, like. And
You think it was
just like,
correlated completely?
Yeah, 100%.
Nothing else has changed, right?
Nothing else has changed about me. I was already in school. I already had the grades. I was already like, nothing changed. Literally nothing changed. So now I cut my hair. It's like, oh yeah, you can do this. Oh, you can do that. You can do that. And I'm not gonna be the fool. Like I got 4 little girls. I'm gonna get this one.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
get this one.
But I feel like they don't, the bigger thing is like, I look at y'all and I feel like I'm really blessed that I've been able to have a group of people around me that I can call and be like, Mav, he been in rooms that I haven't been in. How can I never had that before. There is a moment right now that's happening that we are all doing things that were not prescribed for us.
Totally.
And it's crazy to see how all of us have kind of come from society's version of nothing and making it so much out of something, especially being influential and successful Black human beings. And, you know, it's so cool sitting next to you. I know because we the girls in the room, so I'm like, yes.
I know.
But it's crazy because you only hope for the best, but and you hope that you get to fulfill your dreams and you hope that you get there, but you never really know. You're just like wishful thinking and hoping and now like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, it's like, whew, it's like a little bit of a deep breath, but still, as you know, in being in this industry and being human beings, there is the self-doubt and never not knowing if it'll work.
Constantly
or things like
reinvention.
that. Art is all about perspective. And anytime someone looks at a painting in a gallery, nobody sees it the same. And that's what art is supposed to do. It's supposed to spark conversation. Nobody's supposed to like it. Not everyone's supposed to like it. Not everyone's supposed to hate it, because then it's not doing its job.
But we need that. The thing that we haven't had before is we haven't had this. The idea that we can call and we can make favors, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Let's go, and we've never had that before. And that's terrifying to the powers that be. If we ever come together, what we can do is crazy. It changes stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like we need more of that. We need more moments when we can sort of know how powerful we are when we come together. And I'm not talking about just from like a sense of like power. I'm talking about making bags. I'm talking about making changes. I'm talking about really doing real things. And it's hard because y'all a little bit younger. The older generation doesn't get it.
Don't.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm
it's
saying?
unfortunate. But by the way, it's not their fault. It's not their fault because it was just a different time. It was like the world was
That's
there
all
to
they
get.
knew.
They had to take what they
That's
get.
all they
They
knew.
wanna, I can call you and get help.
Yeah.
The older generation is like, if helping, does
That's
helping
Jay.
you-
That's what Jay said in the song.
your own therapist.
Old niggas. Jay-Z said that in the song. Old niggas never helped me.
Get over it. You be all right.
You
Like,
can also
bro,
call.
like,
You can also call and get help without any expectation of anything in return.
what I
I'm gonna
mean.
help you because that's the right thing to do.
Here's the
what I mean.
number. Call him.
No problem.
That's what, and we'll figure it out down the. Troy Carter, I was talking to him. I saw him and Jay at the game, and Dr. Jay Irvin, and I was like, "Yo, Troy, where'd you get that couch? Because I can't find it." This nigga called me the next day and was like, "I'm sending you the couch."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yo, you're sending me a fucking $50,000." I was like, "You're sending me a friend like that."
People assume we're twins, but she's a year and a half older. What, you thought we were twins?
I did. When before I met you.
Until right now?
No. Before I met
did
them,
too.
I was one.
Yeah. He was always like, hey, what's up? How's your twin? I was like,
I mean,
we
the gym,
graduated
she
2
in there
years
working
later.
out early.
Hey,
She did before me. Yo, twin, what's good?